Shalmaneser was the actual guy that existed, and there was a line of Shalmanesers. That was if you go into the history, it's not going to tell you in the scriptures. You got to go into the history. King Shalmaneser was, and that was more so a title than a name, because each Shalmaneser, he was number 5. They all had their actual name, and they were part of history. And I'm gonna prove that to you. So this Shalmaneser, which is mentioned in the Bible, is also mentioned in secular history.
And it says, verse 4, it says, and the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years.
Can I say something else? Right, it says here, let's look it up. It says Shalmaneser V, successor, Sargon II. Shalmaneser V was king of Assyria. Assyria is an actual place. Assyria is also mentioned in the Bible when we read down. From 727 to 722 BC or BCE. If I say BC, it represents before Christ. If I say BCE, BCE represents before the Christian era. So before the birth of Christ, or so-called Christ. Now 727 to 722 BC, that goes hand in hand with the Bible, the biblical account of the kingdom of Israel being enslaved by the Assyrians, and the king at that time was Shalmaneser V. Right now, you got your red Bible. Look at the date of 2 Kings. Let's see what the date says. This is what the secular world says concerning Shalmaneser V, 727 to 722 BC.
This is 2 Kings 17 is 722 BC or 26 BC.
Bingo! And Shaka said we don't got dates. That's a date, an approximate date. Circa.
Right. This is back in 2 Kings 17 and 5. It says, then the king of Assyria...
I'm sorry, y'all. Can we finish reading that? It says, he first appears as governor of Semera in Phoenicia. Phoenicia is the actual name of a people and a place. That's the Greek way of saying Canaan or Canaanite. In the reign of his father, Tiglath-Pileser III. Evidence pertaining to his reign is scarce, meaning you can find it. All right.
Right. But there's not much, and then there's different evidences of records that were taken by these different Assyrian kings of their exploits. And one of the exploits, being some of the wars that they had against Israel. For instance, you had a place in Judah, one of the cities of Judah, which was called Lachish, and that was one of the places that these Assyrian kings took down during the reign of Hezekiah, king of Israel. And they wrote down about these exploits. I mean, they embellished it, but nevertheless, this was something that actually took place, and it's a source outside of the Bible that documents of these particular kings of Judah.
Now, this is from the Encyclopedia Britannica. Okay, a well-respected source of information. Now it says here Shalmaneser V. It says Shalmaneser V flourished 8th century BC, which is around the 700s. All right, king of Assyria, who subjugated ancient Israel. Wait a minute, I thought Israel didn't exist. Yeah. Who's this guy that takes the books and sneaks up and put Israel up in there? They said Israel, that's what Shaka says. Israel never exists.
Yeah.
But every other 5 minutes, they got Israel coming out their mouth. All right? Now we're not reading from the Bible. We're reading from the Encyclopedia Britannica. Who subjugated Shalmaneser V, who subjugated ancient Israel and undertook a punitive punish campaign to quell the rebellion of Israel's King Hoshea. And by the way, Hoshea in the Hebrew is Hawashai. The difference between this king's name and the son of the Most High's name is there's a Yah in the front of the Lord's name, which makes it Yahawashai. And the word Hawashai means deliver, save, deliver.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, it says here, it says none of his historical records survive, but the king list of Babylon, where he ruled as Ulailai, forgive me, links him with Tiglath-Pileser III. All right, whose son he may have been. King Hoshea of Israel rebelled. Shalmaneser marched via Bit Abini to besiege Samaria. That's another actual place where Israel dwelt. And attacked Tyre, another actual place. For 3 years, he laid siege until he broke the resistance of Samaria. At that time, the kingdom of Israel, as opposed to the kingdom of Judah, dwelt there. However, he died shortly before the capture of the city, which was claimed by the successor, Sargon II. And that's when Israel was able to escape to come over here to the Americas. The people of North, Central, and South America of Indian and Negroid descent, those are the children of Israel. Okay? Now let me look up Tiglath-Pileser III. Boy, let me see here. Here we go. Okay, it says Tiglath-Pileser III flourished 8th century BC, circa 8th century, king of Assyria, who inaugurated the last and greatest phase of Assyrian expansion. He subjugated Syria, and his son, if I'm not mistaken, his son subjugated the kingdom of Israel and Palestine, or Israel, to his rule, and later, 729 or 728 BC, he merged the kingdoms of Assyria and Babylon. All right?
Yeah, and then as you read before, the Shalmaneser V, you know, they were saying that when the Babylonians came, they burnt a lot of those records, and that's what the Babylonians did. When they subjugated certain peoples, they burned their records.
As opposed to the Greeks making a library and keeping their records. That's why you're able to go speak about Ramesses the first, Ramesses the second, Amenhotep. Give me some other names. You have these different pharaohs. Or Tutankhamun. Yep. You have all these different Tutmos the third and so forth, and that was from you can thank the white man during the time of the reign of Alexander the Greek and the four generals, mainly Ptolemy the first. Yep. All right. So what the Babylonians did, burn records, but the Greeks saved the records. That's why you able to read these books and claim this and claim that. Okay.
Then I think in the history, that wasn't there a great fire in the library?
Khan.
Yeah, and it was rebuilt, so they lost some of the records there.
Khan.
Yeah, so you know.
Yeah, and then the Library of Congress is basically the same thing as the library in Alexandria.
That's where they got the concept from.
Right, because just like you had, that was Egypt. This is our modern day Egypt. They kept records back in ancient Egypt.